I want to tell you in this opportunity that I have before you a little New York story as I get to these ayat. La taghlu fi dinikum. Don't go overboard in your religion. When I was a college student in 1875 in New York City, I was at Baruch. Baruch in the house, by the way? Baruch in the house? All right, very good. Like 3 people. Very good. Nothing much has changed at Baruch College. Okay. I did a year in Queens too. I'd done time here. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So, when I was at college in New York, I wasn't really interested in religion. But when I found religion, New York is one of the coolest places to find Islam. Because you get every possible flavor of Islam. Every possible one. I'm not sure if that has changed much. Is it still as colorful? It's still pretty colorful? Okay. And depends on which masjid you end up in which street in Jamaica. Or, where you end up in Jackson Heights versus Woodhaven. You're going to end up with a very different khutbah. Where you are in Brooklyn can entirely determine your school of thought, your aqidah. Like, depends on where you are in Steinway, in Astoria. It is different. Very, very different. So, I ended up in one place, right? A couple of friends said, you need to come to this halaqah, it's awesome. You need to come there and study. So I was like, hey, I want to learn my religion. And now that I've just discovered this religion, I want to soak it all in. I want to take it all in, and I want to live by it. I just want the pure religion. So I go to this group, and they teach me that everyone else, unfortunately, outside of this masjid, they think they're Muslim. You see, but they don't have the proper beliefs. It's very sad. And we're the only place that has survived with the correct faith. And Allah did say that this is, I know this might seem strange to you, but the Prophet does tell us, فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاء. Congratulations to the strange ones. We are it. And you need to save yourself, and you need to save your faith. So even though you've been, and I went enthusiastically in there, after masjid, after salat, this is how old I am. After Jummah, I used to go outside, and there used to be a guy, he's still there on 29th Street by Masjid al-Rahman. He used to have a stand with nowadays DVDs, but back in the day, VHS, baby, tape cassettes of different speakers lined up. And I used to buy one every week and put it in my Walkman. Yes, I had a Walkman. I'm proud to admit this, And I used to listen to all these different speakers. So I went in there and I said, hey, have you heard of this speaker and this speaker? No, ya akhi, al-kareem, no. You don't listen to them. These people are calling to the hellfire. You need to protect your faith. You need to have the right beliefs. You need to make sure you learn from us. And I said, okay, I won't listen to those tapes. And I did. And I put those tapes away. And I wouldn't even look at them. And even though I benefited tremendously from them, I said, no, I must be wrong. I must not have thought clearly about this. And I started going to these halaqas. And I'm going week after week after week after week. And I'm getting more and more indoctrinated until I feel I miss my friends that aren't weird yet. Right? I haven't saved them yet. So I go back to my friends in college. Bro, you got to come to this halaqah. It's amazing. What's so amazing about it? It's the only right religion. Why, I love you. You're my bro. We have pizza together every time, but you're headed for the hellfire, bro. I just feel bad for you. So I need to save you and me. We need to go to Jamaica and we need to sort this out, right? I didn't mention which masjid in Jamaica on purpose because there's a lot of them, alhamdulillah. Okay. So anyway, we're doing this for a while until I had a friend slightly older than me, 3-4 years older than me, that has been around the block a little bit. And one time I'm trying to save his soul, and he sits me down. And he goes, Nouman, shut up. Okay. I'm going to tell you 2 things. You're wrong, and you're stupid. And now that makes me, but I have the evidence. I have the dalil, I have the hadith, I have the ayah. He said, listen, you're being played with. Here's how. And he sits me down for 2 hours. And I go, but, and he crushes me. Then I go, but, and he crushes me again. But. Okay, fine. I need you to, and I understood something then. I need to keep an open mind. This religion is appealing because it asks people to think for themselves. And if you are part of any variation of this religion that is requesting from you to stop what? Thinking, it's no longer Islam. I don't know what that is. It's some mutated version of something. It's not Islam. The reflection, the thought, the critical thinking Islam never ends. It never ends. It only adds to our conviction. I'm not talking about the kind of thinking where you go, what if, what if, what if, what if? And you run from one doubt to another doubt to another doubt to another doubt. فَهُمْ فِي رَيْبِهِمْ يَتَرَدَّدُونَ. Not like that. But when you hear something, you say, where'd you get that from? How do you know that's a valid position? How do we authenticate that? What are the scholarly positions behind it? Let's look at this in more depth. I don't doubt my religion, but I'm starting to doubt the way you're looking at this hadith. I'm having a bit of a doubt about the way you explain that ayah. I have a right to have that doubt. I'm not doubting Allah's book. I'm not doubting the words of the Prophet ﷺ, but I need clarification. And you know what? This deen came to change the stereotype of religion where you come into this religion, you learn something about it you don't understand, and you are supposed to ask, criticize. And it's okay if you're not satisfied with the answer and you keep asking until you get an answer. Maybe you framed the question the wrong way, but until you get to someone who can intellectually sit you down and clarify things to you, your quest continues. Your journey continues. And it comes with a humility also. Maybe there are ayat of the Quran, and there certainly are, that I will never understand. Maybe I will never understand Hamim. Maybe I will never understand as-samawat as-sab'a. Maybe I'll never understand that. That's part of the humility. But I'll keep asking. I'll keep exploring. I'll keep, wondering. My wonder won't stop. That's what the beauty of this faith is. Human beings were granted this beautiful gift of the intellect, and now we're being asked not to use it. And when you are asked not to use it, that is when imbalance begins. That's where imbalance begins. And when it happens for a few generations, then we get to the state where we are now. So you're a college student, or you're in your master's program, or you're 27, 28 years old, and you're a woman, and you're looking to get married, but your parents say no, only from Pakistan. And you say, there's a good brother at the college, he hasn't proposed or anything, but I think that he might be a good match. No. If you do this, if you bring this up again, I will kill myself, the mother says. Or the father says, he's holding his hand on the Quran, I've seen those too. If you do this, if you ever bring this again, you are not my daughter. What movie did you watch that in, bro? Where do you get that from? Like, what's with all the drama? Because you have to listen to your parents. You know what this is? And you can't ask questions like, why? What's so wrong with that? You can, and you will never get a straight answer. Because we said. Because Islam. Islam what? Islam! In other words, your answer becomes more legitimate if you raise the volume on the same wrong answer. This was one time, there was this uncle who was like justifying some racist comment he made. And I was like, Uncle, where did you get this from? It's in the books. And I said, which books? All of them. Go read. I'll be back. I can't beat that. You got me, it's in the books, all of them. Yes, the Mein Kampf is a pretty fun read. But this generation of Muslims, we got to start at the drawing board. So I was telling you about my journey, and I didn't ask questions. And I said, because now this one person had kind of shifted my thinking a little bit, I said, maybe he's right. I should trust him. Everything he does, I'm going to do. Because he slapped sense into me, And so I'm going to just follow. What do you do? We're going to go to this halaqah, so I start going to this halaqah. And I attended and I really enjoy it. And so even though they never said this, subconsciously I start thinking everything else must be garbage. These people are everybody's just waiting to be slapped by my friend. And if they got slapped by my friend, they'd be in this halaqah too. And this journey continued. And I went from one group, one masjid, one ideology, one worldview of Islam to another, to another, to another, to another. Oh, there were lots of them. Somebody brought me a pamphlet from one of them today. What do you think about this? And I read it, I was like, I've been there. That was 1998 right there. You guys don't even know. All of this, been there, done that. It's all done. It's old. You know who's still going through this? England. When I go to England, people ask me questions and I chuckle. Like this guy, literally, seriously, I was driving in the car with him. He goes, so, bruv, where do you take your knowledge? Wait, where do you take your knowledge from? Who are your sheikhs? And I was like, awkward silence for a moment. And I was like, I'm sorry, bro, I didn't answer you immediately because For a second I thought I was traveling through time, because where do you take your knowledge is a question from 1997. We already finished this. We're past this already. What do you? Have you been in the same, like, do you visit geocities.com? Where are you from? Like, some people don't even know what GeoCities is. That's funny. That's how old I am. Anyway, so, but people were stuck in a rut. We find one thing and we train ourselves to think about Islam one way, and everybody else has to think about it this way, and if they don't, they must be wrong. And we have litmus tests for this. I literally used to go visit masajid in New York where there's a door, there's a guy there, hey, you on the sunnah? And I'd be like, what else is there? All right. That's like a litmus test. What am I going to say? No, of course not. A sunnah, what is that? Doesn't make any sense. I went to masajid in England. Check this out. I went to one masjid in England. I went to visit. This is the tragedy of this. I went to visit Sheikh Akram Nadwi. Sheikh Akram Nadwi is one of the leading muhaddithun of the ummah today. The man has written a 50-volume book on just the female collectors of hadith in Islamic history. Life profiles of 2,500 women. I can't read 50 pages. He's written 50 volumes on this one subject. Just because he said, we think Islamic studies is the realm of men. That's actually historically inaccurate. I'm going to show you why. He lists first the teachers of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah that were women, and what their lives were, where they studied from, and then among the students, and so on and so forth. That 20-minute conversation I had with him at his house, first of all, it was a real honor to be at his house. The 20-minute conversation I had in his house answered questions I've had for 10 years. And the people around him don't even know. They don't even know. SubhanAllah. What a tragedy, It is so easy for you to dismiss people when you don't know enough. So easy, Allah says, don't do ghuluw in your religion. Don't go overboard. So I was going from one group to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, and guess what happened eventually? I burnt out. What does ghuluw mean? You go into something too far, and you start hating it. Just burnt out. Not going to the masjid, not really hanging out with anybody, just kind of depressed. Just depressed. And the only time you hear about Islam is you hear one group delegitimizing another, speaking out against another. That's all you hear. You don't hear anything about Islam itself. You just don't hear it. So I started thinking back about all these groups. That all the groups I've been through. All the different masjids, all the different halaqas, all the different sheikhs, all of them. And I realized something. All of them had something beautiful. They had something very ugly, and they also had something very beautiful. Why should I let go of the beautiful parts? Why should I do that? Why can't I hold on to the good stuff and keep it? And my litmus test, I don't impose this on you, my litmus test became the moment any group starts speaking out against another, I'm going to put the mute button on. I don't care about that stuff. I just need to learn something that will make me a better Muslim. That's all I care about. And if you give me something that will make me think of my brother and my sister as less, I don't want that. It's just not interesting. It doesn't interest me. It takes away from my love of other Muslims. I can't take it. I will still disagree with Muslims. I will disagree with scholars even sometimes, respectfully. But I will never use that to think less of them. That's going overboard in your religion. You can love the ideas you believe in, but don't hate the people who don't believe in them. It's not cool. That's actually pride. This is a battlefield of ideas. I am free to share my ideas. You are free to disagree with me. And after even the strongest disagreement, if we can openly talk in a space where none of us are threatened, none of us are raising our voices, none of us are going crazy, we can just have a civil conversation. That's when this ummah moves forward. Where is the conversation? We've become a people that talk at each other. Everybody gives if somebody, what we do? Somebody, gives a speech, somebody gives a counter speech. Somebody writes an article, somebody writes a counter article. Nobody says, let me give this brother a call and let me share with him, here are my disagreements with you. What do you think about them? Let's have a conversation about it. I invite you to my house and let's discuss. Let our kids play together. Let our wives meet and let us just talk about this, this issue that I don't agree with you in. I want to know your perspective. When do we do that? Isn't that brotherhood? Isn't that brotherhood? Instead of talking at people, you talk to them. You talk to them. People told me some time ago about myself. I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care what people say online. It doesn't faze me at all. I don't have the time. I have too many things to do for my parents and my kids and my students to worry about what happens online, honestly. So people told me, they're saying that you follow some deviant tafsir. I was like, who are they? I want to go to their house. Can I invite them to my house? I have good ice cream in my house. I'd love to sit and talk to them. No. The great scholars have refuted you. I was like, okay, that's great. What does refutation mean? Can I still come out of my house? Do I have to wear a headband of some special sort? What does that mean? You refuted me. What does a Muslim do refuting another Muslim? How does that work? If you don't like what I have to say, which is perfectly fine, I'm no prophet. You're no prophet. It's okay if we don't like what each other has to say. You can come to me and say, I disagree with you. You can write to me and say, here's what I don't like. Here are my concerns. This is why one of my best friends in life is Sheikh Omar Sulaiman. Honestly, I love this man. I really love him. He's my bigger, younger brother. It's confused, an oxymoron walking around. But he'll listen to something I said and he'll go at me and say, you shouldn't have said that. That's wrong. I was like, okay, I'll undo that one in the next khutbah. Okay, cool. He says something, I say, hey, why you say that, man? That hurt. Don't you think someone will get hurt with that? He's like, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll undo that one. We can openly talk to each other. We can disagree. We can have a conversation. That is when ghuluw dies. When we stop talking to each other and we start quick to judge, quick to validate your own position. You're so in love with your own position, you can't let it go. I was in that. When I was in a group, I loved that group. I was that group. I was the ambassador of that group. And when I heard something that countered the ideas I was carrying, I was ready to crush it. Oh boy, you better not stand in front of me when you give me a counter delete. I will destroy you. I've memorized all the lines. I know which angle you're going to come from, bro. I trained myself in this. I did. But then I realized my loyalty is no longer to Islam. My loyalty has become to these particular understandings of Islam and the way I'm protecting them. I have to check myself. I've caged myself, and I'm trying to cage others. So years go by when I realize this, and I dedicate myself to one thing. I realize I will never be able to understand all of Islam. It's too big for me. I'm going to dedicate myself to trying to better my own understanding of the language and some things about Allah's book. Maybe if I can get 1 or 2 drops out of Allah's book, I will lead a happy life. I'll be okay. So I focused myself on that for the last 10 years. And in that time, as I traveled, I would meet some kids that are still in one of those, one of those phases that I've already been through. And they sit me down, brother, nice speech, but I have some concerns. And they'll walk me through the spiel. But I know the spiel, bro. I used to do it myself. So he gets to point 1 and point 2, and I stop him at point 3. I say, hey, wait. This was point 3, right? And this was the point 4 you were going to make? He goes, maybe. And I was like, how long you been attending the halaqas? He goes, what halaqas? He goes, I know. I know, bro. Because perhaps I've been attending some halaqas. I was like, yeah, and you have hookah late night afterwards? Discussing how you're going to bring Islam to society? You usually miss Fajr, haven't called your parents in a while? Developed a smoking habit in addition to the hookah that wasn't enough for you? Perhaps. And then I said, listen, bro, I know you really want to do this for Islam. You want to debate me for Islam. But I'm asking you 2 things. Call your mom and dad every day and pray Fajr. Just work on that. Okay? We'll establish Islam together. Just work on that. You get caught up in this stuff, in one thing or another, and the world becomes nothing to you. And I tell you, when you get caught up in these ideologies, the first thing to suffer is your family. The first thing to suffer. I'm being very real with you. This is ghuluw in deen. For us, we hang on to one idea. We tell ourselves we're serving Islam by spending nights and nights and nights discussing something or another at these late night restaurants with questionable content on the TV screens. And we do this on Steinway Street, and we do this on Atlantic Ave. I know. We do this on Atlantic Ave. We do this by Chicken Guy, right? And we do this, and then, the mother doesn't know where you are. The father doesn't know where you are. Nobody's ever checked the cache on your laptop, And we do this, and we think we're serving Islam, doing something for our deen. Stop kidding yourself. The first thing the deen fixes is your relationships. If you're really serving your deen, you would see a tremendous change in your relationships. The way you are with your brother, your sister, your parents. The ones closest to you are drawn to the perfection of your akhlaq. That was what the Rasul ﷺ did first. He had that even before Risala. He had the perfection of akhlaq, character. The people most impressed with him were his family. Today, you will find young people, when they get into the field of da'wah, the people least impressed with them are who? Their family. Everybody else, oh, and the family says, eh. Honestly. You want to become a speaker, you want to give da'wah to people, you want to convince people of Islam. Where's time with your family? This is ghuluw in religion. We've got to balance all of this stuff. And if you're living in New York, you're already used to balancing crazy numbers of things. You've got work, you're living hand to mouth. It's not an easy life here. It's one of the most expensive places to live in the world. That's where you chose to live, I know you don't think there's nothing outside of this in America. Everybody else has got straw in their mouth and they're just, and a banjo in the trunk, I call some of my old friends, how's Texas? Dong, 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 dong. Like, it's pretty good out there, But you live here, so yeah, it's hard, even harder to balance here because you have time for nothing. You have time for nothing. You leave 6 in the morning, an hour and a half, 45 minutes, whatever it is in the subway, and after being pushed around in the bus, then you go to work, then you go to school, then you do some more work, then you get some pizza, and then you get back on the train, and then by the time you get home, you're done. You don't see your parents, you don't see the wife, you don't see the child, you don't see nothing. And you know what? If that's the case with you, you need to figure out a way to make time for your family. The balanced approach to religion means you learn to balance all of this stuff. And you don't lose your soul in the process. If you have 45 minutes on the train, then just memorize some Quran at that time. Keep yourself busy with something productive. Do some ibadah. Every second will count. Every letter you recite is 10 good deeds. Imagine how much you can rack up over time. I remember memorizing Surah Al-Isra and Surah Al-Kahf on the subway when I was in college. 1 ayah a day. I didn't even know Arabic at the time. I was just like, okay, I'm just going 1 ayah a day, 1 ayah a day, 1 ayah a day. It's not hard. You could do it. So now at least you have some spiritual avenue. Maybe you didn't get to sit looking at the sky. Maybe you didn't get to do Qiyam al-Layl in a masjid. But you've got to find ways to serve, to fulfill the needs of your heart during your day. You have to make that time. You have to make the time to reach out to your parents. And text messages aren't enough. I'll call you later. That's not, I'll talk to my parents. I told my mom I'll call her later. You want to text her? Tell her you love her. And if you tell your mother you love her and she says, no, you don't, that means there's something wrong with you. That means you keep saying it, but you've done nothing for it. You've never spent any time with her. You've been ignoring her. So those words offend her because she can see right through them. So you don't get, I told my mom I love her. She said, no, you don't. No, actually, she said, where's the proof? You've been ignoring me all this time. Well, saying I love you changes everything? These are empty words to you. If you love someone, you spend time with them. Without your phone, without your laptop. You sit with them. If you love your father, you do that. You spend time with them, For the young men here, learn to get up for Fajr, man. Stop hanging out late night. It's New York. I'm just being real. We could give theoretical lectures. You're not getting up for Fajr. Wake up. Stop going to sleep late. That's balance in your religion. Don't go out late night. I know the restaurants are open till whenever. I know you're used to the nightlife. I know. It's tempting. It's fun. When else are you going to do it? You need to let loose. There should be a time you can let loose. That's fine. But if it's hurting your salat, man, you just got to stop. You got to find some other way, Young men here, you should have a relationship with a masjid where you go where nobody knows you, and you go every once in a couple of weeks and you spend a few hours just sitting there reciting Quran to a wall. You're just sitting there on your own, nobody's around you, you're just doing ibadah, it'll help you. It'll give you peace. If you can't go to a masjid, go to like Flushing Meadows Park and sit by the water and recite Quran. Where nobody cares about nobody's going to be around. You know? Just do that. You have to find that time. This is ghuluw in religion. And if we don't find it, and when you get ghuluw in religion, things go crazy. The Christians developed ghuluw, overboard attitudes in their religion. It led them to even worshipping their prophet. That's why it's mentioned twice. لا تغلوا في دينكم غير الحق. The second time in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Without any justification. You're going to go overboard in one thing or another without justification. It's going to mess you up and mess the people up around you. The final bit of advice that I have for myself and for all of you, when it comes to a balanced approach to religion, this is my final bit of advice. I pray you take it seriously. And this is something it saved me a lot of trouble, and I hope it saves you a lot of trouble too. In my personal life, this is something personal. I realized that in Islam, in the realm of Islam, no one scholar, no one school of thought, and no one person, no one individual has all the answers. And they shouldn't. Allah didn't do that. Allah made us shu'ub, which means we depend on one another. Just the nature of things. So if somebody is giving you knowledge of aqeedah, for example, you're studying aqeedah, which is a great thing to study, that doesn't necessarily mean that's your source for fiqh. If you're studying fiqh from someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that's your source for tafsir. If you're studying tafsir with someone, that doesn't necessarily mean that's your source for hadith. If you're studying hadith with someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that's your source for history. You have to go to people that are specialists in their field. If you really want genuine answers and deep and profound answers, you have to go to people that specialize in their fields. One of the things that's caused an insane amount of damage to Islam in the last century is people who know a little about a lot of things. When you have a little bit about a lot of things, it seems like it's a lot of knowledge, but none of it is deep. You see? You can quote a lot of different things, but you have depth in nothing. You see? Somebody came to me during the question and answer session and asked me about donating body parts, donating organs. I don't know. But you study the Quran. Yes, that's a fiqh question. I don't know. That's not my field. You need to ask someone who knows. That's a hard question. Somebody asked me a question about aqeedah or about history. I don't know. You need to ask somebody who studies aqeedah in depth, and they can explain it to you in a way that is more appropriate to the concerns you have. I can't answer that for you. What about this hadith? Is it sahih? I don't know. But it's in Bukhari. I still don't know, because that's not my field. People write about me and they complain. Somebody emailed me, why don't you ever talk about hadith? I said, because I'm not a muhaddith. Because I have too much respect for that subject. I only quote a hadith, I only mention a hadith if I have sat with a scholar myself and have understood it from a scholar. And I've done that with only a few ahadith. I've read a lot of ahadith. I've studied a lot of ahadith. I don't talk about them because I have too much respect for that subject. I don't want to make that a casual subject. Because I've seen the damage that does. I've seen the damage it does when a high school or a college student Googles a hadith on this, that, or the other, and they don't even know the Arabic, nor the chain of narration, nor the nuances, nor the context, and they're ready to quote it in the face of their MSA friend who they're trying to beat in an election or something. I've seen it. That's a disrespect to the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These words are sacred. You have to have some respect for them, some respect for the nuance that's in them. And you can do a lot of damage to people. If you don't know what you're talking about, you think you're quoting the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're doing damage to people. And that's why not only should we not speak about things we don't have deep knowledge of, don't talk, you can give people advice. You can tell people about being regular in their prayer. You can tell people to stop lying, stop being angry. These are universal pieces of advice. You don't need to be a scholar for those things. But when it comes to shari'i matters, what's halal and what's haram? What should a married couple do when they're having trouble? They shouldn't be going to a faqih, they should be going to a counselor. That's a counseling realm. That's not a, no, what does Islam say about my husband who does this? No. There's a lot more to that story than your husband doing this. You've been married for some time. There's a lot of issues there you need to sort out before you say, my husband does X, Y, Z, I need an Islamic answer. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. You're oversimplifying and you're trying to use the religion as a weapon against your loved one. Don't do it. And don't do it against your wife either. Husband and wife don't get along, and the wife is crying, And he says, what's the matter? No, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. And he quotes the hadith, if you're displeased with me, the angels will curse you the entire night. It's a sahih hadith. It's a sahih hadith. But you know what? Even if she turns towards you, you think it's because of love? Is that love? You were okay with threatening her with the curse of angels? You call that a marriage? Is that why the Rasul gave that, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Shame on you. How dare you quote that? People beat their wives and they say, "Ar-rijal qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa." How dare you? How dare you disrupt the word of Allah like that? Ar-rijal qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa. You even know what that means? Qawwam, I gave khutbah about that in JMC when I came last. The word qawwam is actually qaf, waw, and mim. It shares a root with one of Allah's names, Al-Qayyum. Al-Qayyum is actually one of, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyu Al-Qayyum. When the Arabic language is sacred because Allah chose it for Quran. And within the Arabic language, the letters that make up Allah's names are even more sacred. So when you think you know what qawwam means, think again, it's a letter. These are letters that are one of the names of Allah, come from these letters. So before you draw any conclusions, study, know what it means first. And it means caretaker, the one who stands up for someone, the one who does activities with someone. It has over 100 meanings, and beating is not one of them. Neither is authority. Neither is authority. Terrible translation, men are authority over women. The authority of men is established in other ayat, not this one. So know what you're talking about. That's blasphemous. This is ghuluw in deen. This is the abuse of religion. That's what we have to prevent as a people. This is what it's happening, and it hurts. I hear people quote ayat and a hadith. Just because somebody's quoting ayat and a hadith doesn't mean they're right. Their own imbalance is seeing things in an imbalanced way. You have to become critical thinkers. You can't look at something in a shallow way and say, okay, that's what it is. No. I need more understanding. I need depth. I don't care if you don't know the whole Quran. It's okay. If you know 2 ayat, know them in depth. I don't care if you don't know all of the Bukhari. It's fine. If you know 2 ayat, two hadith, 1 dua, know it in depth. Know it well. Spend time on one thing. Really internalize it and then move on. Then move on to something else. It's all become about quantity and not quality. Can you imagine if the ocean that looks so beautiful, by the way, if the ocean wasn't as deep as it is, it was just 6 inches deep, it would still look like it does. From a distance, you'd say, oh wow. But there's no depth. That's what we've become in our Islam. No depth. And no appreciation for depth. Those of you who listen to my khutbahs, how many ayat do I quote in a khutbah? Usually how many ayat, Young guys come and ask me, Ustad, I'm giving khutbah for the first time. Can you give me a bunch of ayat? And they write like a 4-page thesis that today's khutbah is going to be about taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and He says, and what else did He say? Where did it go? Aqim as-salat. When you're quoting one ayah, one hadith, one ayah, one hadith, one ayah, one hadith, one story, one ayah, one hadith, you didn't stop at one ayah. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ? Why don't they think deeply about the Quran? لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ, so they can think deeply about the ayat. This is thinking deeply or just moving along? I mean, when you see a beautiful mountain, do you just say, oh, that's nice? Do you do that? Or do you just stand there and go, whoa? When you see an incredible painting, do you just stand there stunned by it, or you just go, We don't even do that with things Allah created in this world. We're stunned. Nobody goes to the beach for 1 second. Oh, such a beautiful sun. Oh well. Next thing, mountain. Where's the mountain? Let's look at the mountain. Let's get this out of the way. When you're experiencing something beautiful, you want to stop. You want to taste it. You want to take it in. You want to be able to appreciate it because this might not come again. Why don't we have that attitude towards the text? Because we have ghuluw. Just give me the quick version. Give me the quick version. Let me move. This book is so beautiful. The sunnah is so beautiful. The Rasul's words, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are so beautiful. They will make you cry if you just spend time on them. If you want to find balance in your life, I know I said the last advice. Can I give you one more bit of advice? One last one. I promise, one last one. If you and I want to find balance in our lives, here's where we begin. We begin by conversing with Allah. If you're not personally talking to Allah, you're never going to find balance in Islam. Talking to Allah means you have to learn the etiquette, the manners of making dua. You have to learn what it means to pray to Allah. And it's okay, if you don't know Arabic and you don't memorize well, you can pray to Allah in Urdu, it's fine. Punjabi, I'm not sure, but Urdu is fine. You should be okay with Urdu, okay? If IUD is Guyanese, it's okay, okay? But it's good for you if you were to memorize some of the prayers of the Prophet ﷺ, because that's how he used to converse with Allah. Our messenger, Allah conversed with him and he conversed back with Allah. The Quran is how Allah conversed with him. The du'as of the Prophet are how the Prophet ﷺ conversed with Allah. It's a two-way conversation, right? So every Muslim should own a copy of the Fortress of the Muslim. You should have a plan on how in the next week you're going to know one more dua. Just as a family, the whole family will learn one more dua, and you'll sit there and you'll think about what Allah is asking you to say when you enter the house. What are you actually saying? When you enter the masjid, what are you actually saying? Think about it. It'll make you different people. It will just absolutely make you different people. And it will make you comfortable speaking to your master. And those who speak to their master, Allah guides them in ways you can't even imagine.